When it comes to doing chapter by chapter summaries of books on social media, is it something that could violate copyright infringement? Let's talk to an IP and entertainment lawyer to find out more.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called the IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Tony, we've been talking a lot on the channel about what we can and cannot do in terms of reading books on social media or discussing books in detail on social media and what copyright protections there are to make sure that we are not getting ourselves in trouble. A question that keeps popping up is about summarizing books, which we have talked about in other episodes, but people want to know specifically, can they summarize a book chapter by chapter and be legally protected? So can you give us insight into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would venture to say, generally speaking, that a summary is like kind of in fair use territory, but I would take the position that it's a safer, more legal, more legal way of protecting yourself if you provided an overall book summary as opposed to, like, let's say, going chapter to chapter. And I think the only premise behind that is the summary of if you went on a per chapter basis, you would be providing enough information and facts that still could, lend to some type of practical recitation of what the book contents are within a specific chapter. Now, I think maybe you could have an argument if, like, let's say you talk about the themes in a specific chapter, or if you talk about motifs in a specific chapter and how it all ties in. That is a type of criticism or commentary that in the context of the fair use doctrine could be allowed. The problem is one of the factors of the fair use doctrine is looking at the amount of substantiality of your use of the copyrighted work in proportion to the copyrighted work as a whole. So if you're doing it on a chapter by chapter basis, you're providing a summary and a commentary, yes, but you're doing it by talking about the entirety of a given chapter. Versus if you were to provide a general summary of the entirety of the book, like you just say, this is a book about a boy that went on this adventure and he met some friends and he defeated the antagonist in the book. They live happily ever after. Then you go into a breakdown of the motifs, the themes, what you liked about the book, what you didn't like about the book. Those operate essentially as a commentary or criticism that complement your brief, that operative word there, brief summary of what the book is all about. That operates in that context as a much better argument for fair use than maybe if you were doing it on a per chapter basis. Now, I think this is worth reiterating the importance of understanding that we still cannot allow even the recitation of word for word of what is in the book chapter, period, because basically by you reading the words of that given book, again, like let's say you have a YouTube channel and you literally sit in front of a webcam or in front of a camera and you're reading each line word for word. That is a public performance of the book that otherwise is being violated by the infringer. That's a right that is exclusively vested with the true copyright owner. So if you want to publicly perform or publicly read the book, you need to go to the publisher and get the permission necessary to read the book aloud on TikTok Live or on YouTube or on your Instagram Live, whatever the case may be. So obviously it's worth providing that friendly PSA reminder for viewers. I would say that almost has some type of direct correlation to this discussion about providing a chapter by chapter summary. Now, again, I'm just providing my own take on it from a macro point of view. Every fact pattern is different, so it's not a cookie cutter model that equally applies in every single situation. If you have any shadow of a doubt or any concerns about this, or if you just want to double check, obviously go to a lawyer and ask for their advice, because again, every situation differs, and it's not like a plug and play scenario. The law never operates that way. There are some circumstances where it does, but more times than not, every fact pattern is very unique that triggers specific, questions to ask, that triggers specific thoughts. And, it's the kind of thing that would maybe have to require independent review for your given situation.
And it is better safe than sorry when it comes to situations like this. So make sure you are doing your due diligence on this. You are looking into what is going to be acceptable, what isn't. You are getting a license if that is going to be something that you need to do. You're checking with your lawyer. You are going through the steps to make sure you are legally protected when you are doing this. But it's also just easier to be more creative and find a better way. There's a lot that you can go through to make this happen, but it's a lot easier just to be a little more creative and to kind of shift what you're doing to be more applicable to what you are trying to achieve. And if you've got questions on that, or you need ideas, or you want to bounce some ideas, go ahead and drop those down in the comments below. We want to make sure we're getting your questions answered for you. And as always, Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes, so you can drop your legal questions for him now, and you can hang out with him on social media. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor, and you can check out my entertainment law podcast called End Scene, with new episodes dropping every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Questions down below so we can keep you safe and protected inside of the legal side of the publishing space. Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes, and we are dropping daily videos helping you navigate the world of publishing, from your writing to your publishing to your marketing, to make this your most profitable year ever with the least amount of stress and overwhelm and time commitment when it comes to creating your content. We'll see you then.